Welcome back to the Blues Box. Thank you for joining us again. If you haven't subscribed, we'd really ask you, if you like what you see, to do that, because that really helps us out and really helps get our YouTube channel going. Thanks to everybody who has subscribed. That's really important to us and we appreciate it deeply. But also feel free, just press that like button, leave us a comment, that will be great. So today, Steve,
it's a Fuzz-Off.
It's a Fuzz-Off. We've got a vintage band of Gypsy style FuzzFace. We've got, very kindly lent to us by Claire, we've got a Fjord Odin.
Think so.
Odin, think so, yeah.
That sounds like something Claire would buy, actually.
Yeah, does it?
The name Odin.
Odin. Is that the way you work, Claire? Okay, and also we've got a Fuzz Bender by the very well-respected Keeley Electronics. They're very different approaches to fuzz, of which there are many, actually. One thing I did want to say before we get cracking on things is you can't, on an episode like this or on YouTube, you can't really truly hear tone in the right way, because you're not in the room with the air moving around. There's EQ on the computer, there's EQ on the everywhere, and YouTube compress it and so forth. But by doing a sort of representative one like this, at least you can see the sort of differences between stuff like this. And whenever you try and do overdrive or drive pedals or fuzz pedals, there's just this artifice, I suppose,
there is,
to use a posh word.
Especially when you're like looking at amps and things to buy.
Yeah, it's almost impossible, really. I mean, delays and things like that, you get a good idea of what they can do and their tonality. But so we thought we'd bring the three together because we really wanted to have a look at the Fjord. That was the one we were...
There's quite a big difference between these three, actually.
There is. So we're going to just delve into that a little bit more and take you through what they're going to do. So I've just set up basically a bit of a clean sound just to give a reference point. So a few things about fuzz is they're usually sensitive to the guitar volume control. So what's going in, they're quite sensitive to that. And not in like an overdrive thing where you back off a little bit and you get that little bit of cleaner sound. They kind of drop off quite quick. Right. So they are sensitive. They really generally got to be one of the first pedals in the chain. Okay. So be careful if you use a buffer pedal and things like that. And also some will work quite nicely into a crunch sound, some, but less, will work into a dirty sound. Most of the time I like the sound of fuzz into a clean sound, so you're just getting the sound of the fuzz. But you can layer it and you can put overdrives after them and things like that as well. And the only other thing I'd say before we get into all of this is two of them haven't got an EQ on them. That's the FuzzFace and the Fjord. The Fuzz Bender's got a bass and treble. I think if you find when you're in a band, you kick your fuzz in and you go to do your solo, if you're doing a riff at the beginning of a song and it's just you, the fuzz sounds fantastic. Then you kick it in when the band are playing and you disappear.
Gets lost, yeah.
Because there's often a bit of a scoop with a fuzz. Right. So a little tip, if you've got a loop on your amp, is to get an EQ pedal and do the sort of unhappy face shape. Roughly, that's a starting point, and that puts a bit of mid-range back and gives you a bit of projection back.
If only I'd known all those years ago, I could have got your sound out of our mix.
You could have just by the happy face, you could have put me lower down in the mix. That's right, Steve. I'll cry into my beer later on. So we're going to have a look at what is basically a vintage vibed, sort of voiced FuzzFace. This is the mini FuzzFace. And these ones they're cute. I like these ones. They're a classic sound. The Band of Gypsys won this one. They make, I can't remember now, 4 or 5 different versions of this. Right. They make the big size ones and the little ones. This one here, I mean, the basic control's just volume and fuzz. We've got the Fjord Odin, massive. How much fuzz do you want?
It's like off the spaceship.
Yeah, we've got master pedal, and then you've got the fuzz and you've got the overdrive, and you can balance the difference between the two there.
It's got a secret button as well, hasn't it?
Has it got a secret button, Steve?
I think so.
It's so secret, I don't know about it.
In the octave thing.
Well, that would be that secret button.
It's not really. It's kind of in front of you, really, isn't it?
Yeah. And probably in the instruction manual as well.
But it does what the others don't do.
It does what the others don't do.
That's what I meant.
Okay, so if we're calling things that some do that others don't do a secret thing,
then it is a secret button.
Then it's a secret button.
That's my point.
Okay, see what I have to work with. And though I use the word work lightly. And then the Fuzz Bender from Keeley, very different. It has like 2 fuzz sounds in this one, really. It's got the classic sort of, I keep wanting to say germanium type of fuzz, the old school fuzz, and it's got a silicon one to give you much more modern, almost like a Velcro static-y kind of vibe. And it is I think, more outgoing, this one, should we say. And the other control you've got with this, you've got this bias control, which kind of goes between the two, and then you've got the bass and the treble. That's your lot, really. Well, in, out, take a pedal, you take a power supply, batteries, off you go, you know.
Choose your patch cable carefully, as we discovered.
Yeah, so one thing we did notice on the Fjord is very tight at the top between the jack sockets and the power socket. And I couldn't actually get two pancake type, this type of jack in there, which is a common patch lead. So we had to revert to one of your slightly longer ones to get it in there. So that's something worth noticing, actually. That's a funny one. It's very tight, and it didn't need to be that tight, at least from the outside.
Yeah.
I don't know what the board is like inside, but yeah, so you can't use a pancake cable with that one and the power supply. So that was a little bit, something bit of a surprise, wasn't it? Yeah, so anyway, okay. So we're just going to go through them, 1, 2, 3, and let's have a listen to the different sounds that we're going to get, okay? As always with these episodes, you know, you want to cut out the waffle after. You can't cut out the bit before because you don't know about it. But you can, where everything's chapter marked, so you can jump between the pedals and I'll waffle at the end. Okay, Steve, right. So, my clean sounds.
So this is Band of Gypsys first, yeah?
FuzzFace first?
Yeah.
Is that what you said?
Band of Gypsys, I said.
Oh, okay, I couldn't hear you because I was doing this. Okay, so I've set the fuzz reasonably high. Volume, I mean, the volume control's mental on this. I've had this for a while. It's great, but let's get in there. Okay, let's turn it down a bit.
Quite like that.
Vintage voiced is what it is.
Black keys.
Black keys.
Kings of Fuzz.
Yeah, nice fuzz. I looked around quite a bit when I was fuzz shopping, and yeah, it really stood out as one I quite liked. There are a few others out there I'd love to get my hands on to try. So maybe down the future we'll see if we can round some others up as well. Because you weren't a massive fuzz fan, were you?
No, no. But because
you've matured recently and found that you actually don't mind it as much as
I know somebody would disagree with that, but
Hi, Angela.
Since I've known we were doing this, I've obviously tried to listen a bit more. And at times think, oh, that's Fuzz, and I didn't really realise the song I loved was Fuzz.
Was Fuzz, yeah.
There are artists, I'm a massive Gary Clark Jr. fan, and he uses them a fair bit.
Ben Poole, is it Ben Poole does one that starts with a...
Yeah, he does, but it's growing on me, let's put it that way.
It has its place, I think, and that's, I mean, it really can. You can hear more of the guitar through that one. You know, you get... So you don't have to go nuts.
No.
If you back off, you tend to fall off a... They are sensitive, they do really need the... So you've got a nice wide range of that one.
I think this might probably will sound stupid.
Okay. Give it a go, Steve.
Yeah. I suppose there's certain types of bands that I associate with Fuzz that I'm not necessarily a big fan of.
Yeah.
But then I've even gone back and looked at the classic riffs and thought, oh, I didn't realise that was played with a fuzz pedal kind of thing, you know. So it's exploring the variety of them, I guess.
I think that's the key, and remembering you can balance them with a slightly dirty channel as well, with a lower amount of fuzz. There's a lot you can play with. Yeah. You know.
Well, my favourite fuzz sound or song with fuzz in is "Numb" by Gary Clark Jr. It's absolutely insane. I mean, I don't know what's going on that.
I like really ripping fuzz. Yeah, I would like it to sound like a fuzz pedal, you know? Yeah. And it's an effect then.
Yeah, rather than the in-between.
Yeah.
Which can almost sound like a slightly buzzy...
Yeah, yeah.
You know, overdrive rather than
Yeah, I think what we mentioned, the rat pedal's quite good. It's sounding a little bit like a fuzz with the filter in the right place. Yeah. That's quite a wide ranging. Right, so what have we got here? Okay, so we've got fuzz on the right and the octave on the left, which will kick in, and that controls your amount of fuzz, amount of octave, and then obviously, I guess, a master.
Yeah.
Less.
Yeah, my initial reaction is I kind of prefer that, but that's probably because it's less
fuzz.
Let's
give that a bit more. And then you can kick in the... Okay, so straight away, octave and chords, probably not. Okay, so that's
cool.
With your octave in there, that's cooking, isn't it? Mm. You know. Kind of builds as well, doesn't it, with the sustain?
Almost feels like it's gonna feed back.
It's that the volume is coming in. Right. It's different, isn't it?
It is.
It's different. It's brighter. It's different.
It's more.
Yes.
It's kind of milder on the right and more extreme.
Yeah, that octave brings it alive for me.
Kind of like you said a minute ago, if you're going to have fuzz, then you may as well have fuzz.
Yeah,
kind of,
but you know what?
The full-on one is good.
They're very different, aren't they?
Yeah.
You know, this is much thicker. This one's much. It's slightly more metallic. It's got more top end, but it's got that interesting build with the octave. I like that.
I should imagine that's quite interesting in vibe. A live situation, whether you are getting that happens even more possibly. I don't know.
I think just the guitar sat on its own doing something with that is quite nice. I can see why people like them.
Yeah.
At first you hit it and you think, and then you play with it a little bit. Yeah, that's interesting. Okay, so the last one is the Fuzz Bender. Okay, so
that seems more full on straight away.
That is quite a full on pedal. It gets more full on.
Right.
You've got as well here, you've got the amount, I mean, I've got the fuzz up quite high there. Let's pull that back a little bit. And that sounds a little bit more like the FuzzFace then.
Yeah.
When you pull it down a bit, maybe put a bit more bass in. So that can almost cover that, that ground.
Although, just on that little comparison, I slightly preferred the tone of that one.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
I think.
Yeah,
I'm not
what
sure
you
why, whether it's the level of fuzz, I don't know.
All right.
But initially, the middle one seems the more extreme, but in a good way, if you want that octave
Once
sound.
you've got the octave in it, but that does mean that chords aren't going to work. You need to use it as just a fuzz if you're into the chords, I think.
Yeah.
Like a lot of octave pedals, it's a single note job.
I suppose playing around with the EQ and that a lot more you're going to...
Yeah, I mean, with this one, what I do know is you can get a very... By going away from the sort of more traditional sound, using the bias control, you get a very staticky. There's like a gate there. It's not opening as quick. Yeah.
Sounds like you got
So there's a gate in there.
Basically sounds like you've just split your speaker.
Well, you know, if it was good enough for... Was it the Kinks who did that? They just... allegedly. Who knows? Very different sound.
Yeah.
Not very bluesy, but you know.
So I guess if you're playing around with that, that's probably going to give you a wider, but overall sound.
I think there's a lot more to play. I mean, you can hear now. That's gated my guitar completely off. You know, you can't hear anything. So there is a full-on gate in there, and that's on the bias control right over there. So there's one way to play something like that, you know?
Yeah, that's gone completely.
So it's like having a really...
That's quite interesting.
Yeah, like full-on noise gate. I guess you can blend that a bit.
Actually works better than some noise gate.
It does. Let's go nuts. There's a lot to this one, and I think you could do a lot of playing around with it, and getting a lot of different sounds out of it. But you're going to have to do that. You're going to have to give that a bit of experimentation, I think. Very different pedals there, really.
What are we looking at price-wise between the
I can't remember, Steve.
All right.
150-ish.
Okay.
What did Claire say? I think one's quite expensive, aren't they?
160, 170-ish.
I think you're right on that one.
I'm not sure.
Those much cheaper. 80, 89, I think.
Is it really?
Yeah, I think something like that.
And what was the Fuzz Bender?
140-ish, I think, 150-ish.
Right, so both of them are more than, well, almost twice the price of...
Yeah, I suppose you'd say they were boutique pedals, as opposed to a more mainstream, more mass-made pedal.
Okay.
But you know, I mean, I do love me old FuzzFace, but it has got a very thick sound. You know? Yeah. It's a real difference between the three.
Okay, which one would you have if you had to have one?
That's difficult, isn't it? Oh, do you know what? I like the fact the Fuzz Bender's got a lot of options, from usable to borderline not, unless you're in like full-on punk or something, you know, really alt. It'll just about do that vintage feel though, because it's got the EQ on there, which makes it quite a powerful tool. I do love my FuzzFace. I like that. I think single note work, and for an effect, I really like the way that the Fjord does that build. You get a bit of that in that one. The sound just raises and comes out. I do like that from the Fjord.
I would definitely have Fjord.
Yeah, the fuzz on its own is not enough for me.
No, but maybe that's why, because if I was going to use fuzz, it would be more likely for a riff rather than a chord.
Okay, yeah. Might work better into a slightly crunchy sound, that one, actually. You know?
I know, actually, Claire has said from using probably the right-hand side of it.
Yep.
When she borrowed my Mad Professor Royal Blue.
Yeah.
And she said she was able to get a sound from the right sound that wasn't a million miles away from an overdrive rather than a fuzz.
It does feel like that. It's a soft fuzz, I have to say.
Maybe why I'm drawn to that more, but then you've got the extreme part on the left of it.
Yeah, I do like the octave nature of it, but I think if money no object, I'd probably be interested in the Fuzz Bender.
Yeah.
Even though it's got an end to it, I probably wouldn't use in what we're currently doing. Days gone by, I think I would have been drawn to the Fuzz Bender for the more alt stuff we used to do.
Yeah. Well, I guess even you know, the Black Keys are a pretty blues drenched band, and there's a lot of fuzz on their stuff.
There is, but I would probably go more FuzzFace then.
Yeah.
So I think they all do quite different things.
Yeah,
but
actually surprising actually.
Yeah, so my summary would be the Fuzz Bender is very flexible, it's got a lot to it, can just about do that vintage vibe. FuzzFace is, I won't say a one-trick pony, but it does what it does and it does it well. And the Fjord does something a bit different. Yeah. It's less full-on fuzz, but that octave, I think that's its...
Probably why the price
was it the secret button, Steve?
That was the secret
button all along, see, and you know...
wow. I would buy it just because it's got a secret button.
It's just a secret button, which is on the front of the whole thing.
And the ginormous volume control.
Yeah, it's quite like that. Yeah, I quite like the fact these are huge as well. You could actually move them with your feet if you had to, you know. So
maybe that's why it's like that.
I think it probably is. It's got that retro look, isn't it? And I do love the copper. It's got like an acid etched copper panel. I mean, it's nice. You know, we don't just buy pedals because of the sound, do we? We do quite like the look of them sometimes.
You do.
Well, many people.
I just buy a big pedal board and don't put many pedals.
Don't put one pedal right in the middle of it.
Although for quite a striking looking pedal, the box was horrific. Remember?
I do remember the box.
Just a brown cardboard box. Nothing else on it.
That really is a boutique manufacturer.
Make some effort on your cardboard boxes.
Come on, Fjord, do better. But at least you know all the money is going into the product.
Yes, that's a good point.
All right, so
no, it's a lovely pedal.
But yeah, I agree. Yeah, interesting little set of pedals there. So let us know what you think. What do you use? What do you think is good or bad about them? Which would you go for? Brilliant. Yeah. Okay. So that's some fuzz pedals. Bro, okay, so if you've enjoyed this or you'd like to know more about these pedals or anything like that, give us a comment, just ask some stuff in the questions. Please sub, that's really important to us and we really appreciate it when people sub. And a like would just go a long way as well, and it helps us on our YouTube journey. If you want our journey to continue. If you wanted to go down in flames and crash and burn, unsubscribe immediately. And yeah, they've taken away the dislike button really, it doesn't do anything. So,
that's a shame.
Woohoo! I'd be hitting it from ourselves. Brilliant. It's been great. Thank you very much for joining us at the Blues Box. Take care.